Hey everyone, welcome to Taquiando. I'm your host Bill Esparza, and this week we are back at the Hillside Luxury Hotel El Encanto in Santa Barbara with Chef Byron Gomez. Chef Gomez is the executive chef at one Michelin star Bruto, nestled inside the Dairy Blocks Free Market in Denver, Colorado. You might have seen Chef Gomez on season 18 of Top Chef. He's worked for Daniel Boulud, Daniel Hum, Gavin Kaysen, and held the sous chef position at 11 Madison Park before moving to Denver, where he's helped put eyes on Denver's culinary scene. But first, at Taqueando, eating antojitos is a way of life from the world's most celebrated dining rooms to the gritty stands and storied market stalls that preserve culture. Life is short, so we must eat well, and here are this week's Antojitos Rundown. Well, you know, for today's episode, later on the podcast, you're going to hear my interview with Chef Byron Gomez of Bruto in Denver. But I actually went to the dinner after the interview. So here are my highlights from that incredible dinner. Now, I did before um, I stopped at Lion's Tail in Montecito, a wonderful cocktail bar, and I was very impressed. I'm, for my job, for the job, folks, I don't mind trying the new cocktails with 20 ingredients and all these techniques and, you know, uh, geeky cocktails. I can enjoy some of them, but it's just not my style of drinking. I can write about it and I can appreciate it. I can, I can appreciate that you like it, but I like a Negroni, uh, extra dry, martini. I like gin tonics, basic cocktails, but more, I'm a wine drinker and a spirits drinker. But I really, really liked the cocktails at this bar. Even the white Negroni, which is also not something I like to order, but they sent one out and I loved it. Their Vesper was really nice. And they do frozen martinis. That means that they have it chilled at a very low temperature when they serve it, so it's nice and cold. Um, so if you're in the Santa Barbara area and you're staying out there, head to Lion's Tail. And of course, I was at the lovely El Encanto Hotel for the series. They had this amazing culinary series that you're missing out, folks. They've had David Castro from Fauna there. They had Koji from Monterrey there. But I would say that this week was really special for me because I did not know this chef. Byron Gomez of Bruto has an amazing story that you're going to hear about in the episode. But the dinner itself blew me away. He's the only Costa Rican chef of the United States to win a Michelin star. His restaurant got the Michelin star, but he's the chef that's there. And so they got one Michelin star and a green star. And oh my gosh, he had this fish and banana dish. And I remember I looked on his menu at the menu in Denver when I was researching him, and I was like, oh wow, there he really is incorporating Costa Rican ingredients and flavors into his dinners there. And so, anyways, I had that dish, absolutely amazing. He did. There's doing all these fermentations there now. Every chef does fermentations these days, and a lot of it's just being geeks and trends. But in Denver, with the seasons the way they are, with winter and all these things, they have to stretch out their ingredients because their seasons are so short. Like white asparagus, they only have it for a couple of weeks and then it's gone. So they're doing fermentations to prolong the ingredients and use them in other different ways. So another amazing dish I had was uni, uh, and of course, he used Santa Barbara sea urchin with squash. Again, leaning into the traditions of Denver, Colorado, the Three Sisters. I had never had squash and sea urchin. Lovely dish. This guy also makes very beautiful plating that's very original. You're not going to find, a trend that you're going to see at other restaurants. The rockfish and banana, amazing. And then he did a wonderful dish with rye, and of course, they grow rye there in Colorado, and so it was rye and truffles. Again, another really interesting, flavorful dish, earthy, and also bison. So this was a very beautifully cooked bison with allium. And there's all kinds of, to earn that green star, there's all kinds of repurposing of different types of ashes and fermentations and different layers of flavors that are happening. Honestly, for you Latino chefs out there, check this guy out, Byron Gomez, Bruto in Denver. I feel like this is a guy that I'm embarrassed I didn't know about. I was so happy to experience this dinner. Thanks to El Encanto for making that happen. And I really recommend heading to Denver. Yes, make a flight there just for this restaurant, and certainly keep your eyes on this series at El Encanto. And I'll see you there. Welcome, Chef Gomez.
How are we? Thanks for having me.
All right, it's a pleasure. So I'm excited about. About to taste your food tonight for the first time.
Awesome.
And
What a treat for me.
yeah, it's yeah, a treat for us, I guess. I'm super excited about. I know that you're not doing Costa Rican food, but I'm super excited to highlight a chef
Yeah.
who's from Costa Rica,
Yeah.
who's using your Tico roots
Mhm.
in the cuisine. I've been here for David Castro Fusang and Maribel for from Fauna,
Yeah.
and we also had the chefs from Monterrey here
Mhm.
for what restaurant was that?
Koji?
Koji.
Yes.
And we also had Koji here from Monterrey, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And now you.
Yes.
How did you get involved in this series?
Well, I've known Patrick quite for some time during my time in Aspen, and then also Gary. And it seems like they just keep on bringing the bag together, bringing back the band, and I mean, it's such an honor to be considered as talent to come into this beautiful property, this part of California. So I'm very honored and super excited to be here tonight.
Yeah, and I've been looking through your Instagram feed, and I'm like, okay, first of all, I was a little embarrassed that I didn't know about you,
Oh, it's okay.
or and again because I'm such a fan of comida tica.
Yeah.
And is that comida tica?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm such a fan of comida tica, and I've been writing Eater's Guide to San Jose, Costa Rica for the last few years,
It's amazing.
and getting into the cuisine and getting to know the different, culinary traditions.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's one of those cuisines that a lot of people overlook.
Yeah.
And there's a chef in LA, she's a baker,
Okay.
and she's also Costa Rican,
Yeah.
and she's always saying like people online are always talking bad about Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the food there. And the first thing I wanted to kind of ask you about is the soda, the culture of sodas.
Mm.
And so if you just tell me what is a soda,
Yeah.
and then and talk about your experiences as a kid there eating at the sodas in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Well, we have the sodas and also pulperías, we call them.
Now, are those more like pubs?
No, pulperías is more like a convenience store, like your corner store, like in New York City, like the bodegas. Right. You get little sandwiches, you get candy. Growing up, I would go to the town pulperia and I would just buy things on credit, because it's just like a neighborhood shop. Like everybody knows each other. So when you're a little kid, you get your bunch of candy and your mom pays for it later because everybody trusts each other. When it comes to the sodas, it's such I don't want to say unique way of establishments because I mean everywhere in the world they have roadside joints,
Sure.
and that's what makes the culture. I believe that is the artery of people traveling from point A to point B, to be able to eat,
Right.
especially on lower income kind of like countries or part of the countries. So the fact that those are still around in Costa Rica, something that we're very proud of, something that we will love the every tourist when they go to Costa Rica. Yeah, go to your resorts and go to these things. But if you really want to connect with the people and the locals, the sodas are the places to go. This is where you're gonna find mom and pop shops. These are where you're gonna find grandma in the back cooking home style cooked meals. You get to have the staple of Costa Rica, which is gallo pinto, casado. They know in other countries.
And for our listeners who don't know the food, can you tell us what a gallo pinto is?
Yeah, gallo pinto is a very humble meal. When you have breakfast, like the traditional Costa Rican breakfast is made of gallo pinto, it's rice and beans. Rice and beans. Some people throw some pork lard in there to kind of like stir fry the rice made from the day before, to bring it back to life. Some people jazz it up with peppers, onions, cilantro, everything picked from the garden. And you're able to taste those flavors. I don't know, for some reason, fruits and vegetables taste different in Latin America.
Well, of course they do. No, I always say that fruit starts to get better as you cross the border in Tijuana, and it gets even better
As you go south.
Mexico has great fruit, but it's more in the south.
Interesting.
But it's better in Central America, and it's even like you get to the Amazon and the fruit there, it's savory, it's complex.
Yeah.
And so you're right.
It's just part of the culture. I mean, you have fresh squeeze. We call it guanábana, but sour sop or cherimoya.
Right.
Those juices. You get fresh, mango juice.
Chorreadas taste like they have sugar inside of them.
Yeah, is the custardy texture of it when you first taste it. The seeds is a little bit of a problem. You pick up all the seeds. But once you get that pulp, you could have it, we call it basado en leche or en agua. So you could have it milk-based or you could have it water-based. And that's part of everyday breakfast.
Right.
That's how you start the day, with natural sugars, with nature, everything organic, everything from the backyard. So that's what these pulperías kind of surround themselves around.
Yeah. So, I've heard of pulperías before, but like in Chile, Argentina, I feel like they're a little different there.
Yeah, they are a little bit different.
And so I didn't know about the pulperías in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
More like that's your convenience.
Yeah, that's a convenience store. Yeah.
But the gallo pinto, I feel like it's not just a dish. It's like a way of life.
It is. It's like the pura vida. Our saying, pura vida, that's a way of life.
Right.
Literally. Exactly. It's not just a saying. It's actually a way of life. So yeah, that's the start of the day. So rice and beans. You have fried plantains that taste so good with natilla, aka sour cream, Costa Rican style sour cream. You have half an avocado, 2 fried eggs typically, and a stack of tortillas. That is the Costa Rican.
And what about spaghetti?
And that's like for lunch though. But it gets even a little bit more weird. Spaghetti with rice.
Right.
That's kind of normal for us.
It is normal for you.
Yes.
Central America has this carb on carb crime, that's that you have to get used to if you're not, you're like, well, why am I doing 2 carbs? Yeah. Shut up. It's delicious.
I mean, it's like bread and spaghetti, like garlic bread with spaghetti.
Right.
It's carb on carbs. It's just different parts of, it's, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. And, and I think that people, when they go to these things, when you tell people that they're going to try the national dish and it's beans and rice, they're like, well, I've beans and rice. That's not exciting to them.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand in Mexican culture, like beans are more of a side dish for us. They are a main in a certain sense for certain things, but generally they're to put inside something.
Fill it. So
Yeah, they're to moisten something.
Yeah.
A dish or a guisado. But for when you get to Central America and South America, beans and rice are a main dish.
Yeah, it's a staple. I mean, look at Brazil, feijoada.
Right. And there's so much flavor
That's
in
their
the rice
dish.
and beans that we don't have, because ours are simple.
Interesting. Yeah.
And you can refry them and make them, you can add some things in to make them
Chicharrón or things like that to jazz them up.
Yeah, so chili powder, chorizo in there, and little tricks that they do. But you guys, how do you get the rice and being so flavorful?
I mean, it was such again, I think like when we make chicharrones, we take all that pork fat that we have fried the chicharrones in. And it's not like one batch of chicharrones. Again, when you go to the sodas, this batch of fat has been sitting there for 3 or 4 times, that right, different batches. So it's seasoning that oil. So then you just take a little bit of that to stir. So it's like a nice, beautiful, aromatic fat that it's just amazing. And
it is amazing.
It elevates it to the next level. Yeah.
Okay. And so finally, what is your soda order when you're there?
I will have to say the most popular one, if it's not gallo pinto for breakfast, it will have to be chifrijo. Chifrijo is a medley of rice and beans. Some people call it chimichurri, some people call it salsa, some people call it pico de gallo, but it's like a Costa Rican style. Chopped up tomatoes, onions, cilantro. And it comes with fried pieces of pork that has been lightly seasoned. And there's just something so homey about that. The acidity with the richness of the pork, but also like the stickiness of the pork, because it's kind of sweet, from the natural fat, and then everything just gets binded with that starch that just coats your mouth, and you're like, wow, I want more of this.
It's amazing. And there are places that specialize in just
Yeah,
that dish.
and just that dish, chifrijos. Yeah, when you go to bars, that's like our bar food. You don't find chicken wings or mozzarella sticks or nachos. You will find like a bowl of chifrijo to have with beer, and that's a good Costa Rican outing right there.
And it's delicious. Now you guys have so many wonderful things there. I really love the your ceviche style.
Mhm.
Again, Peru has their campaign to promote their cevicherias.
Yeah,
And Mexico obviously has a very strong
yeah.
tradition.
Which you guys are tomato based, right? I think, is it?
In the well, I would say that ceviche mexicano is more product based because you have all these clams,
Okay.
like the callo de hacha,
Okay.
the pen shell clams.
Wow.
So you have all this high end seafood products,
yeah.
and now you get into Baja and you're getting gooey duck, you're getting
Mhm.
sea urchin, local sea urchin,
Wow.
and so it's more product and it's just light.
Yeah.
Where in Peru, they're seasoning the light. They're adding all these things that they're blending
Mhm.
raw fish and ice and cilantro and onions and ginger
Yeah.
inside the light.
Yeah.
And so the leche de tigre to me, that's more of a technique based ceviche because they don't have
Yeah.
really great oysters and clams.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And what struck me going to Lima is that they don't have many ceviche dishes. Like they have ceviche,
Mhm. The one standard.
leche de tigre,
Yeah.
they have tiraditos,
Mhm.
and everything else is cooked.
Yeah.
But if you go to a Mexican cevicheria, you're getting all these tostadas, all these raw
Mm.
preparations. You're getting molcajetes, you're getting ceviches, you're getting aguachiles,
Yeah.
and all these different because you have so many products.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But Costa Rica, so you guys have an amazing ceviche tradition too.
Mhm.
And the one dish that's really unique is
Mhm.
the caldosas,
Okay. Yes.
which are made with picaritas. Yes.
Yeah. 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 So it's like, think about it like your like in Mexico you have the chips, the tortilla
The
chips.
tostilopos.
Yeah, tostilocos.
But this is with seafood.
Yeah, for us, the picaritas is like this kind of like barbecue flavored corn chip.
And you have all kinds of flavors.
Yeah, we have all kinds of flavors that you can mix, and like it's like the tostilocos. You can kind of pick and choose your adventure, but the base is gonna be that acidic and that seafood tossed and marinating and cooking in its own juice. And you just pick your topping, and the scoop is it could be different flavors.
Yeah, I mean, you have all these like hotel pans full of watery ceviches.
Yes.
That are just delicious.
Yes.
And you guys have a lot of products there too. There's octopus,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
fish, and so, but the caldosas is like the thing to
Yeah.
get right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people just don't know all these amazing traditions that you guys have there.
Yeah.
And also the casados, which
Mhm.
which is the word you guys use for guisados, like right, like dishes,
Casados is like, yeah, components, like a whole composed dish.
right? A whole
Yeah,
composed,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so you have your whole plate of casados,
Mhm, mhm.
your whole menu of casados,
Correct.
and incredible antojitos,
Yes, yeah.
tortilla de queso, chorreadas.
Chorreadas son muy cargadas, son chorreadas.
That's your thing.
That's like my glow thing. I did this video on Instagram for Hexclad, and I was like, okay, well, I want to introduce something cool, and we did a chorreada, and typically people add like butter or
Yeah. So and if you can tell everybody what a chorreada is.
yeah, so chorreada is pretty much like a corn cake. So you take fresh corn, you grate it, you add some flour to it, and you make like a crepe, like a very sweet corn crepe. And what I did on the video, I spread it with a crab salad. And people in Costa Rica were like, "Wow, I never seen it done like that." So I'm taking something traditional
Right.
and added a spin to it, and that's part of like my repertoire upbringing from cooking in these kitchens. So it's just fun to have those basic fundamental flavors or dishes or ingredients and be able to elevate it. And I think that's what Costa Rican cuisine is becoming now, widely known. Yeah.
And it already has that international component to it because if you go to San Jose, there is so much international food there.
Mhm.
I feel like it's such a part of the culture already.
Yeah, I think part of that, I mean, when people think about Costa Rica, sadly enough, at this day and age, people think about the resorts, people think about the retreats, people think about the nature, and the last thing they think about is the food.
Right.
Well, that's an issue. As a chef, I need to be an ambassador of that. I need to be an
Yeah.
ambassador because that's how my people were fed throughout decades. So we need to feel proud of that. And once you start researching of what Costa Rican influences are, native native influences. You go to the West Coast, Guanacaste, which is extremely touristy. So there's a lot of European influences there. There's a lot of American influences there. But then you go to the other side, Puerto Limon. I mean, yeah, Limon on on the Atlantic side, and it's like you're in Jamaica.
Right.
You're like in West African countries. And there's such a melting pot that nobody's really saying that message until recently. Some chefs have come up and said what that terroir looked like photography of Costa Rica looks like. And I'm just so proud to be part of this movement that is able to tell that message to the world.
So, right. So you have colleagues, friends of yours that are
Mhm.
there doing this, that are getting into the regionality.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of those chefs?
Yeah, one of them is my brother, Pablo Bonilla from Seymour.
Amazing.
He's taken something, I mean, head spearing a project that it's taking a lot of heat, but if you want big rewards, you got to take big risks. And he started going to the Talamanca region, to the indigenous region of Costa Rica, and started getting like government permit for him to able to go there. And he started drawing inspiration of these techniques, of the way that these villages curate life, and then he started bringing that to the city, something that was so brave and I want to say so courageous 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and that now is getting recognized by the world's 50 best in Latin America. He was the first one to put a Costa Rican restaurant in the world's 50 best. And this is Latin America's 50 best. That's Sequa. So that is like genius. Very courageous. The gentleman from Silvestre, he trained in Australia. And I believe also Nordic countries, when Copenhagen was, at the top of like the Nordic, cuisine in the in the late 2010s, 2015s. Now he's coming to Costa Rica and bringing that knowledge and utilizing with indigenous like plateware and ways of serving things with a little bit of a modern twist. So Costa Rican is seeing this revolution of chefs that have gone to other countries and are bringing those richness back because they find a value in what we have to offer to the world. And we're not just about exporting coffee and exporting bananas.
And yoga.
And yoga, exactly. We have a beautiful thing, and it's this gastronomy of different ingredients and different influences from all over the world that are coming together and exploding that.
That's amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's more awareness in general. I
Mhm.
mean, the 50 best, um, I, I, I like all these lists because I think they're great for restaurants.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, when I see restaurants that I like on there, I also always love the idea of being at a place that's in its moment.
Yeah.
It's getting recognition.
Yeah.
But I think the 50 best has been such a boon for Central America,
Hmm. Yeah.
putting it on the map. They ignored Central America at
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, they did.
And
Yeah.
finally, they've figured out that, okay, we need to be, and there's great things going on. And I feel like it's encouraging more chefs to take risks
Mhm.
and push themselves
Mhm.
and get into like, okay, we can't just cook. Great. We have to define our region.
There has to be a story.
There has to be a story.
There has to be a story to share out there. And it's so cool that even the diners themselves, they're not the days of El Bulli was revolutionary. The days of Alinea were, head spearing a movement. Now I think the diner is more interested about the origin and about the story, and make there has to be a connection. It's not just like liquid nitrogen and smoke and all these things,
Right.
all these theatrics. I think people want to know and want to be rooted in what society and humans are always interested in. And I think that's what the 50 Best is doing with a lot of these restaurants in Latin America, is drawing out those stories and projecting them to the world. So it's a good thing.
I agree. I agree 100%. All right. So before we move on from your cuisine,
Yes.
what are the 5 dishes people need to try when they go to Costa Rica?
Costa Rica. Okay, chifrijo for sure. Chorreada, absolutely.
Okay.
Costa Rican breakfast with the gallo pinto, that's 3. 4, some grandmas or some sodas, if they have arroz con leche available with raisins, it's so good.
You have a sweet tooth.
Oh, yes, I do. My mom will freeze the arroz con leche with popsicle stick. And then we will pop it out, and then we will have creamsicles, like
my God.
popsicles.
Okay.
Arroz con leche. It was so good. You know, so and then if you go to Guanacaste, rosquillas. Rosquillas are these corn fritters, more like a cookie. And sorry, not fritters, more like a cookie, and they're baked in a wood fire oven. Around Christmas time is huge. Costa Rican tamales are very different than Mexican tamales. Costa Rican tamales is actually a whole meal. So you have the masa and you cook it in the pork lard for a couple of hours.
So we got 6 dishes.
6 dishes. I mean, yeah, there you go. We're just so excited to be able to talk about Costa Rican cuisine. But I think those 6 dishes are a very solid start to what an introduction to a good Costa Rican experience could be like.
Awesome. I'm super excited again to talk about your cuisine.
Mhm.
It's Central America is full of amazing cuisines. I mean,
Yes.
every country, and I think it's been, you know, people have been short-sighted to sort of gloss over it because it doesn't have, 32 regions like Mexico or China with their
Mhm.
these cuisines that have so many regions. You don't have to have a bunch of regions to have great cuisine,
Mhm.
great flavor, and Costa Rica is amazing. Your story is very unique in that you have not been able to travel because of DACA, and you haven't uh, been able to. So many chefs are able to go to Noma
Mhm.
there and stage, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of chefs. There's Latino chefs, Mexican chefs, Central American chefs. They were very big at El Bulli.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it was the second largest group of stagiaires,
Wow.
and then we're from Mexico, and then also Noma. There's so many leaders now that have
Yeah.
come out of Noma.
Mhm.
You found that here in America,
Yes.
and also connecting with your own culture
Uh-huh.
and connecting with all these movements through the DACA program. Um, I want to kind of ask you about how is DACA, um, you know, how does DACA benefit the service industry and the restaurant industry in specific?
Yeah. I mean, when I first found out about DACA, I was just very skeptical about it. I was very scared. Growing up in an immigrant community, eventually, you learn that's okay. You can't get in trouble because if you get in trouble, they're gonna kick you out.
Right.
Lay low and do the right thing, and so you start to kind of like starts to see all these like restrictions growing up as a teen. You're a little bit different. You know that the food that you eat is different. The neighborhood you grew up is different.
Right.
Once I graduated high school, I couldn't go to college because I had no financial aid, and my parents had factory jobs. They couldn't afford, put 3 kids through college, paying full tuition because it was financial aid wasn't available to us because um, uh, we were not legal in this country. So there was at that point in late teens, I was finding out or trying to seek ways how to be integrated into this culture because at this point I was already 10, 12 years into this country. Um, I was already getting the personalities and accepting, living here in the US, that there was just a handout of DACA. And that was like a life jacket in the sense of like, okay, well, now I could start building credit. I could have a bank account. I could get a license. I could get a social security through that permit every 2 years that I had to renew it. This is the light at the end of the tunnel. That this is the only light at the end of the tunnel that I could see of establishing a life here because going back to Costa Rica, I don't know anything about Costa Rica, let's say, at that point, at that age. So it's very frightening to be at that wide intersection. So I took it. So once DACA was almost like a life jacket for me, I decided to take that. I didn't really dig into that it wasn't processed properly or it didn't become a law and things like that. And that's what catapulted me and gave me the courage and the confidence of standing in a platform that even if it had to be renewed every 2 years, I was going to be the best. I was going to try to do the best because this is an opportunity that life has given me. This country has given me something that I've been seeking. My parents came here and they didn't have that. And that's when I started embarking on working for some of the best restaurants in the country, in the world, some of the biggest mentors worldwide. And my first job was Burger King. And then from that, went on to a 1-star, a 2-star, a 3-star Michelin restaurant, to then be number one restaurant in the world, to then traveling with a pop-up team and then becoming a sous chef.
Right. As a sous chef, you are the one that traveled
Yep.
for 11 Madison
Yeah,
Park.
exactly. So at that point, I'm just focusing my career. I'm not even talking about like the political stuff.
Right.
Nowadays, there is a different situation happening nationwide.
Yeah, there is.
So I have been a big advocate of going and lobby Congress. And this past year, there's this picture of me of in the front of the Capitol building having this press conference, and I didn't realize how much of an impact that's going to have with people, how many people resonated with what's the political turmoil of immigration in this country at the moment. And I didn't really, I still kind of don't see it that way. I'm a little bit naive about it because at the end of the day, all I'm asking for is that, yes, maybe all I'm asking, DACA wasn't processed properly. And the other side of the coin is arguing that. But I'm a prime example that I'm not a parasite to the system.
Yeah.
I am contributing to the system. I pay my taxes, no criminal record. We employ at Bruto Americans. We give back to the community, to the economy. I mean, the food economy is the third largest economy in the U.S.
Right.
But what is it? $15.6 trillion a year we're bringing in. So all I'm seeking for is more common sense immigration reform.
Yeah.
It's not a free for all for everybody
And of course, it's hard. It's very hard to have that discussion right now
because nobody's listening.
because the other side is not making a rational argument.
No, exactly. So let's just be more human. Let's have more common sense, and because the system right now is messed up. It's not working out. It hasn't worked out for many decades.
Yeah.
And now that there's a light shone on the issue, well, there has to be some sort of turmoil, that shock effect. And maybe that's what we're feeling now of things being shaken up. But for me, instantly, and I'm speaking about DACA, we are a group of folks that could prove that, hey, for the past 10, 12, 15 years, this is what we've been doing. You guys have been tracking us. So why can you guys give us a little bit more of a break compared to the other person that, if you are a criminal and things like that? I mean, even in our countries, we don't like people from foreigners
Right.
that even, people from different countries, we don't like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the history of this country is immigrants have always proven their worth.
Yes, exactly.
And, I honestly, I feel like a lot of the resentment, what I see out there is that I think everyone understands that immigrants are not coming here. They say these things to steal jobs, but the fact is, you guys are immigrants, all immigrants, myself included,
Mhm.
us, we're entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And immigrants come to America because of the system.
Mhm.
And like, oh, I could start a business there.
Correct.
And they come with that attitude. So like people that are coming and showing up are creating jobs
Mhm.
and really the driving force. And all this talk about like, oh, jobs are going to China, jobs are going here. Restaurant industry jobs are American jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're feeding our communities. We're not the ones to having corporate America chain restaurants that are everywhere else. Let's talk about McDonald's. Let's talk about KFC. I've heard stories that McDonald's in Paris is amazing. We are contributing and we are employing within our same community.
American jobs.
Exactly.
So entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So, but it's a little bit tricky because when we talk about immigrants are the ones that get the job done and this and that. Within that group, there's some bad apples. There's some bad apples, and I'm a firm believer myself that okay, let's do a processing system that we get rid of those bad apples. Yeah, the people that deserve to be here, let's award them to be here because let's reward them to be here because we're just in this together like everybody else.
Yeah, DACA is an amazing program. It's obviously there should be a process. The countries that don't have these problems, like Canada, has a path to citizenship, and they're literally saying, yeah, if you can rent an apartment and pay your bills, if you can hold a job, you get points. It's a point system, and most countries that are rational countries do that. And DACA is an incredible, really boon to the service industry and restaurants in general. I mean, chefs all over the United States are either, and people that work the lines are DACA and also undocumented.
Yeah.
And that's That's your local economy.
Yeah.
If you close all your restaurants,
Yep.
you're shutting down your own economy.
Yeah.
You're committing suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, so yeah, and obviously it's worked out at Bruto, which is got a Michelin star.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad. Not bad being the only Costa Rican chef in history that had a Michelin star. Yeah.
Hey, hey. Yeah, let's celebrate that. And rightfully so. And you're doing it with your own cuisine,
Correct.
with your own roots.
Yeah.
You have Tico influences.
Yeah.
Bruto.
Certain dish.
How is that? How are you putting that into your dishes?
Well, I mean, the setting of Bruto is very brutalist, brutes, concrete, raw, impactful. When you're sitting at Bruto, it's only 18 seats. And we don't have a gas stove. We don't have an oven. We don't have a fryer. All we have is a little induction burner on the corner, and everything comes from a wood fire oven. And it's not an oven that you could be like low, medium, or high. No, you have to manage. It's something that's alive, so you have to manage it. So I mean, on a full cover night, we're putting out over 700 dishes out of that wood fire oven, at a Michelin level. So going back, like your question, how do you grow inspiration and all that is, I remember my grandma cooking in a wooden stove in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And having those flavors, I could relate that a lot with Bruto. Influencing Costa Rican ingredients. So one of our appetizers a few menus ago was morcilla, which is a blood sausage.
Right.
And people in Argentina have morcilla. There's different morcillas throughout Latin America.
All throughout Latin America.
Even in Europe, the French got the bourra noir, the English got the York breakfast, York pudding with, all those things. With us, it was that morcilla, and I did it with pejibaye, which is a fruit that we will eat as snacks, like kids.
Yeah.
It's a peach palm fruit. So we will eat it with mayo. So we did a puree with achote, anaro seeds, and pejibaye, and that was the topping on the morcilla. So you're eating something that's brutalist, that's like, like blood sausage with your hands on a nixtamalized corn cake, as my grandma will nixtamalize corn. So I remember that.
Wow.
And there's this drink in Costa Rica made out of blue corn. And so I took blue corn from the native tribes in southern Colorado, and we nixtamalized it at Bruto and made a corn cake utilizing the morcilla and the pejibaye. That's like the intro bite of my story, of my ingredients. We're thinking about doing misos. Instead of doing like a regular miso with soy, we do misos with yuca. Yuca is a cassava. Yuca is a root vegetable that we eat in Costa Rica. It's like a potato. That's like what potatoes is for other countries. Yuca is for us. So we're taking this Japanese technique of making misos, but instead we're going to make it with what I influenced myself with, and that's yuca. So that's how I ideate things. Sauces with plátanos and bananas. So it is very kind of unique in the way of the setting of Bruto, but it's also gives me an opportunity to put every now and then little things, little crumbs of people being interested of what Costa Rican cuisine is like.
And then you have another dish that uses plantains.
Yeah.
That when I was looking through your menu, I was like, oh, that's some Costa Rica stuff right there.
Yeah. This was a dish that a story was told to me by my good friend, brother, Pablo Bonilla. And is on one of his trips going to the Talamanca region and visiting the Bri tribe of that region. They have this dish called mafuriseca. So they take freshwater fish, they clean it up, and then they wrap it in banana leaves, and then they throw it over the embers. Once it's cooked, they take it out, and then they make a vinegar out of plantains. And when he did a dinner with me in Aspen about 6 years ago, I was able to taste this. He smuggled this vinegar past customs to come in to
Tell me that shit.
And so I tried this vinegar, and it was just like so mind blowing that it had notes. It had notes of like sugarcane with like cinnamon,
Yeah.
and like warm spices. And that's because of the humid climate and the fermentation of this vinegar. So we decided to make a plantain vinegar at Bruto. And it was based around this. So what we did is we fermented bananas in a way that you will ferment black garlic. So we use the peels. So try to be sustainable because again, paying homage to these folks because they use everything. So we use the banana peels, the inside of the banana, and we made a black banana puree. Then we got the fish and we lacquered it in a thickened plantain vinegar glaze. And then we added the banana chips with the fish skin crumbs on top. And then we did a scallop mantle sauce around. The scallop mantle is like the outer skirt of the scallop, but nobody uses it. So we were able to smoke it, dehydrate it, polarize it, and make it into a galango, lemongrass, ginger kind of espuma
Yeah.
to garnish the whole dish. So that dish was based on an inspiration from the Talamanca Bribri people of Costa Rica.
Wow. And that's what a dish you're doing tonight.
And that's the dish that I'm doing tonight. Yes.
Well, that sounds like brutalism.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of chefs get into fermentations,
Mhm.
obviously, and it's a trend.
Yeah.
But at Bruto, at Bruto, you guys are doing it more out of necessity, right? Because of the, you've talked to me about Colorado terroir and the seasonality, which you have parts of the year where things don't grow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can you talk about how you guys are using fermentation to extend your seasons?
Yeah. So it's at the DNA. It's at the core. In order to make Bruto work in the way that I see it work and be able to exercise it and execute it, we're thinking about dishes, menu items, ingredients a year ahead, a year and a half ahead. Because when I first got to Bruto that first spring, I didn't realize there's no such thing as spring in Colorado. You're still getting snow in May, right? You're still getting snow sometimes in June. So these farmers are talking to you and they're like, well, we just had a frost. Like,
Right.
so there's nothing available till like mid-July or late June. And you're like, well, it's summer everywhere else in the country. Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, yeah, you have your own little microclimates here because it's the Rockies. That's how things work.
Right.
So I started shifting my vision of how we curate the experience at Bruto. And to me, Bruto thrives in the winter when it's desolate, when it's dry, when it's dark, when it gets when it's just like, I don't want to say depressing, but it's just like that setting, where you come to sunny California and it's just different. So how I started thinking about things like, okay, well, we're going into this hibernation mode. What are some concrete based brutalist techniques that other countries have used in order to survive? And Europe does that, Asia does that, Africa does that, Central America does that. But here in the US, we have such an abundancy of ingredients and flavors that we've never really drawn out what a dish out of necessity needs to
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about like a little bit more old world country kind of techniques. So when we talk about fermentation, preservation, let's talk about white asparagus. Right now, I have a white asparagus dish on the menu with sable fish. So the white asparagus is only a 3 week season in spring. That's it. So
It's fertile.
instead of serving it during those 3 weeks, how can we stretch it the most we can? So the cooks, we got all the cases of white asparagus. Every week we will get 2 or 3 cases. We will peel them all. What do we do with the peelings? Most people just throw them out because they're woody. So we dehydrated them. And we use those peels for the white asparagus ice cream on our summertime menu. So now out of waste, we have an entire 4 months covered for an ice cream. Then we took the stalks and we pickled them. And now they're being presented in a pickled beurre blanc sauce for the sable fish dish. So now I'm covering 2 seasons out of 3 weeks of crops. That's how I started thinking about Bruto. We make our own vinegars in-house. So we got a sustainable star, a green star by Michelin. That is because of our practices. There was an issue with flavor and allergies and dietary restrictions, gluten. Well, I like to use miso. Well, soy is people that have gluten, they cannot eat soy. So great, let's scratch soy out of the system. Let's use our scientific gastronomy, chemistry,
Yeah.
knowledge. Now let's twist that and let's curate every miso in house is gonna be gluten free. So we make misos out of squash. Right now we're making misos out of yuca. We're making misos out of apples. things that are just in season.
Right.
We don't make any more fish sauce. We don't buy fish sauces. We don't buy soy sauces at the restaurant. We make garums. Garum is a very ancient Roman technique. So right now we have a bison garum that we're going to feature tonight.
Bison?
Bison.
Wow.
So think about it like a bison fish sauce or like a bison soy sauce. We make our own in-house fish sauces. We want to keep it vegan, so we make mushroom garums. So now we're building all this encyclopedia of knowledge that we're able to go to the pantry, and we have a team that's fermenting, and I'm thinking about ideas, and they're just producing, and we're lessening the carbon footprint on top of utilizing grains right now, like the rye. We have over 750 acres of regenerative agriculture throughout Colorado, mostly in the San Luis Valley. So we're growing our own grains, we're bringing it up to Boulder, where we have our own mill, and then we're distributing to the restaurant group, Bruto being one of them. So right now we're using rye. Rye is a cover crop. So in the winter, in the San Luis Valley, when it's super windy, that's where the grain sand dunes are at. And it's over erosion and over a lot of years, dust has settled. And now you go to the sand dunes, it looks like the Sahara Desert in the middle of Colorado. So that region is known for high winds. So the farmers, in order to keep on growing in the summer, they do a cover crop of rye. So right now we're featuring rye on our menu. We're looking at ecosystems such as the sea urchins is an issue for the California coastline. They're eating away at the kelp forest. Well, we like kelp. We need kelp in our oceans. So we're serving sea urchins in a shell at Bruto with Colorado apples, miso made with that squash and a buttersquash bisque. And people has a dramatic brutalist look to it when they get a whole sea urchin shell. And you intrigue that curiosity in folks, and people just take the shell because most people don't never seen a sea urchin.
Right.
So it's our job to do all that. So that's part of the curation and ideation and execution of that Bruto experience when you come to our restaurant.
It's amazing what you've done there, because your whole story, the story of Denver, is all these restrictions of things you have. Again, going back to the political situation has not allowed you to travel and connect in the ways that most chefs are able to. And you're in an area, you went to an area where a lot of chefs are running to California because they want access to seasonality all year long of abundance. And you've turned something, that's very unique, original. I was looking at this pea dish on your Instagram, and I'm like, you know what? I've never seen a pea dish that looks so attractive to me. And I'm like, okay. And a lot of chefs can make beautiful food.
Correct.
But yours has a symmetry and a design that I don't see in other places. And that's because you have not had access. You're not able to go in and just bring all these ideas from a kitchen you work in.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have here in the United States, but every chef, they go to Spain, they go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
They're going to Noma, to Stage. They have all these experiences, but you've really, through your own just will, have created something incredibly beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think it's amazing.
I mean, it's a work in progress. Thank you for the nice words. Sorry, sometimes I don't see it like that, just because I'm just so in it. Head down, and we're ideating, and we're producing, and we're failing, and then we're questioning, and that's just part of the whole process. But for me, what really was able to free me and give me that liberty was just the knowledge that when I first started at Bruto, my mentality wasn't like, oh, I have to do this. My mentality was like, I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to work with my environment. I don't get to alter my environment. I have everything that I need in order to be the most successful we could be at this point in the present, this time and age. Well, we started looking like how people look at wine, in terroir.
Yes.
Well, what is the Bruto terroir? We have high desert, we have mountains, we have forest, we have lakes, we have the Front Range. Great. Well, it's no different than, like, let's say Noma. It's no different than what people are doing in Japan. So you start kind of breaking it down in that way. You start finding beauty. Like last fall, we went out foraging and we gathered pine spruce tips. And now that's being dusted on a sable dish. And it's very chromonomatic in the sense like it's white and green.
Yeah.
And that's all you get on the dish. But we went a step further and we started making muglio. Muglio is taking the pine cones and macerating them in sugar. And they've been sitting in the jar. Now they're liquefied almost, all that maceration. Well, we
Yeah.
could make a glaze out of that. We could make some sort of sauce out of that. The bar could take that and use it as one of the simple syrups. Dessert team could take that from one ingredient that is just hanging there, and what we have to do is just go and forage it. So that's how I started thinking about the terroir of Colorado, the Front Range, and everything around. Right now, the winter menu is inspired by Colorado's three sisters. This is corn, beans, and squash. This is an ecosystem that the indigenous people they first inhabited that area of the country, they needed to grow corn, so corn grows up.
Yeah.
The bean twirls around the corn stalk. La milpa, exactly. Taking back techniques from Mexico or Latin America. And then the squash provides shade so you could keep the area moist. So in these dry, rugged areas, and then you could dry these things and then utilize them in the winter. So that's how we start thinking about the Bruto experience and ideating and dining experience. And all we have is a hearth oven and a little burner, electrical burner on the side.
And when people see your plates coming out, they would not believe that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen a few kitchens like this
Yeah.
in the world. I mean, when people are seeing all this composed food,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge kitchen.
Yeah.
And the chef has already invested in expanding the kitchen, making it more, adding more devices and more stations. But you're doing it with nothing.
I think those restrictions help you be more creative. Some people call it survival mode. Some people are like, "Well, no, I can't produce if I don't have all these things." No, that's out of scarcity, and we don't do it on purpose. It's just the setting of the place, and there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in that simplicity, and it's so raw because it's only 18 seats around a counter, and it's an open kitchen, so you get to see everything. You're like, as a guest, you are in the backstage, front row in a professional kitchen. How it looks like. There's no hiding things. If we mess up, you'll get to see it.
Right.
If we don't have servers anymore. Now it's the chefs. The maker is showcasing what he made, and he's spieling to you. And we're training our cooks to be able to bust a table and mark for the next course, and go and spiel. So we're teaching them ways of how the industry is, because you don't have to be behind the scenes anymore. I'm hoping that one day you own your business, you will be able to connect with the guests. You'll be able to connect with front of the house.
Right.
Be able to see what a server goes through because you have firsthand experience of what that is like, and maybe the culture might shift. So we're also kind of changing the culture of what restaurants could be like in the future.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're also bringing, you're putting eyes on Denver
Mhm.
and Colorado in general.
Correct.
And plus the Michelin Guide has been there now for
3 years.
3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think when people do get to see what you're doing and other chefs are doing there,
Yes.
that Denver has to be a destination.
Yeah. I mean, when I first arrived to Colorado, it was via Aspen.
Right.
So I was in Aspen for 4 years. Then I went over to the Front Range, what we call it, it's Denver area. And being in Colorado for, I want to say, coming up on 7 years, it's really taught me a way of seeing how the tourists move. So Denver is a hub to the West. If you think about it, when trains were invented or carriages before the airplane, people had to stop in Denver before they make the trek over the Rockies to the other side, California, Utah, so on and so forth. So Denver back in the day was a big hub.
Right.
Even nowadays, a lot of flights, before they go to the mountains, they have to land in Denver, and then you get into smaller planes, and then you go to these luxury resorts to go ski, to go do your summer thing. So Denver still acts like that. What I'm hoping to bring of that awareness, like you just mentioned, is that maybe you don't have to spend your whole vacation in Denver, or maybe you have to spend a whole week. I hope you do.
Right.
But if it's a layover, if it's on your way out, or if it's on your way in before you go to the ski resorts where they have everything, take a day and go downtown and eat around Denver. take an Uber, and you could have a good meal and a good evening just by spending 1 or 2 days in Denver.
I'm sold. You, again, I think people need to know, Bruto, what you're doing there. We need to be aware of that. There aren't just Mexican
Yeah.
and Guatemalan chefs out there that we know about, so many.
Yeah.
But Costa Rica has so much culture.
Yes.
And that's on display at your restaurant.
Yes. Yes.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been quite a journey, but I had
Well, this is Chef Byron Gomez. Thank you for being on the podcast. And I cannot wait for this dinner.
amazing. Super thrilled to be here, and thank you for the opportunity and telling my story.
And thank you for tuning in to the Taqueando podcast this week. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode. And please leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts.